well, thank you all for welcoming today. Super excited to be here with you. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I'm currently still in Boston, wrapping up my grad school program, but again, still, it's an honor to be here with you virtually. Thank you, technology, for that. Um, um, and today I was asked to present on careers for the greater good. So let me see if I can, yeah, I think my introduction really covered this slide, but what I wanted to do first is really, define the greater good. So there are a lot of professions, I think, out there that really just contribute positively to, impacting, creating greater social impact, advancing society. Particularly for me, my goal in life has always really been seeing our Latino community continue to grow, and particularly to give voice to underserved communities. I was, born and raised in Idaho, so I grew up from a small town, rural background there, and my grandparents were immigrants from Mexico. And it's been beautiful to now have these opportunities to, see the change, see what happens in Idaho, some of the issues, and then afterwards, you know, change into different environments like the city, moving to Washington, D.C., moving to Boston, where those same systemic issues are somewhat similar really here in urban settings. But ultimately, my goal in life has always to make this impact. And here I just wanted to give you guys some ideas for, how to do that, some careers, and kind of just guide you and tell you about my experiences that, may either inspire or just like, pick up some of those questions that you're also exploring in your careers. It's also super exciting to see that this space is built. I feel like more and more, our community is continuing to grow, and it's exciting to see this next generation of Latino leaders. And so however I can also be a resource for you, I'm super excited to as well provide that. So what impact do you want to create? So I want to share a little bit of a story about mine. And you'll see throughout the slide deck that I have a lot of photos because I am very much a visual learner, and I love storytelling. And I feel like that's just so powerful. So for me, at a young age, I have photos here of my family and my grandfather in particular. My grandfather was really a truly inspirational person, and I get emotional because he instilled in me a lot of these values that I carry on throughout my life, and the legacy that I want to continue from him, building throughout my life as well, and carrying on and making impact. And the thing that he always told me is to really just to help your neighbor, help others. He always did that in our community. Kids would come by and sometimes didn't have a meal, and he would, get like, it wasn't maybe the most healthiest, but like ask the paletero man when they were coming, or the taco truck, and just like pass that out to other neighbors. He his space and his home, him and my grandmother would always open it up to our community and our neighborhood, and I absolutely love that. And I saw those values, and unfortunately he passed away. He unfortunately had gotten sick, and I was at the hospital many times with him, with my family. My mom was like working double shifts, so was my dad, working like late night shifts. And when I would finish like I think I was in high school at the time, I'd finish school and then drive out there to Caldwell, where it's just like the next city over, and would be there at the hospital or the nursing home with him and help him to interpret. And as you guys may find in Washington as well, at least in Idaho, this was our experience and still continues to be in most of the state. There aren't many culturally competent providers, and when there aren't those, sometimes the hospital also lacks translators. And so what happens as a result is the family themselves or children themselves end up becoming the interpreters for their family members. And that can be a really challenging dynamic. And as a kid, I always thought, why am I having to do this? Or like, it would make me uncomfortable with some of the things that I'm sure my grandfather wanted to keep private. And I would go there purposely because there was that gap. So I wanted to be there for him to ensure that like what his care needs were addressed. But again, that shouldn't be on us. It should be on our healthcare system to do that. And so I found that gap and was like, very much passionate, like I'm going to become a doctor. This needs to change, and this is going to be my goal. No one else should have to feel like this. And so I've been thinking about the impact that you want to create. I want you to kind of think through the following, really what brings you joy, what are you passionate about? And I encourage you to also explore types of careers that align with your personal values and also social impact. Again, you don't have to figure this out on your own. And I have in the middle photo here a picture of one of my mentors, Professor Mie Kim, at the College of Idaho. I was always gung-ho about being a medical doctor. And I feel like a lot of Latino families or maybe minority families, you tend to think either being a lawyer or a doctor is the way to go. And so I thought I chose doctor. And my mentor, Professor Kim, I didn't know what I was going to do after college. I wanted to take a gap year before applying to medical school. And it's how I got to meet Felicity through one of the pre-med programs, if you haven't had a chance to meet her there. But um, Professor Kim had told me, Aliza, I just see you and you look like you're such an advocate and like you would thrive in a public policy like environment. And I was like, public policy, what does that mean? Like everything I had done throughout college had been, I'd been working on biology, taking pre-med courses, organic chemistry, and I wasn't that great in all of them. They were really hard courses, but she told me, you should go to DC. You should apply for this internship or this fellowship program and just like see what comes of it. And so she coached me through, developing my resume, my application cycle. She helped me with interview prep. And I really owe my career to her because I think had she not inspired me to do that, not challenged me to just, you're taking a gap year, what's going to be the loss? And so I was like, okay, I mean, it's a program paid for. So for that reason, I say, surround yourself really with mentors and community that's going to believe in and support in you and that will see things in you that you maybe don't see yourself. So this led me to apply to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute Public Policy Fellowship, and I moved there in August 2016. And this program has been pivotal throughout my career. I also owe a lot of my success to CHCI. They're a wonderful program and encourage everyone here to also apply. And I'll share a little bit more about the program a little bit later, but this is a leadership program. CHCI is dedicated to advancing and developing the next generation of Latino leaders, similar to what, and tell me if you guys say it Leti, it sounds like my mom's name, so Leti but based in Washington, D.C. And these Latinos they have an internship program, a fellowship, graduate and undergraduate program. And they bring us all together to come to Washington, D.C. to work with members of Congress and also to work with other organizations working in policy. But it can be in a variety of different industries and policy. Actually, I will just take a moment to ask the crowd, and I apologize if I might need Dana's help or the team's help to just hear, but would love to know if someone could tell me what public policy means to them or advocacy means to them. And I can't really see everyone well, so if you just want to shout it out, that works well to me.
Okay, can you hear this? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pass the mic around. Who wants to?
Okay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lenny. Thank you so much for being here today, first of all. Your story is really inspiring. What public policy means to me is the people's voice. I believe that it goes beyond just the people who are creating the policy and setting it in place. I believe that it comes from the voices of the lesser herds of, I don't want to say unheard, but lots of people that are overseen. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Okay, one more person. My name is Jacqueline, and advocacy to me is something that goes hand in hand with public policy. those who don't typically have space made for them. So I think advocacy has been actually a huge focus for you, but kind of standing for um, opening up those spaces for those people who don't have it.
Thank you. Thank you both. I was able to catch snippets, but what I did hear was definitely, continuing to advocate for communities that maybe don't have a voice, or communities that are kind of siloed and don't have that representation. And I completely, yeah, definitely agree with that. Policy is, it can be at the local level with school boards. It can be at the state level where you see legislation happening, being created, regulations that have a direct impact within the state. It can be in the classrooms or among institutions and schools, and then at the federal and international level. So it really, it's involved everywhere. It affects our daily lives. Tax season, taxes are due in 2 days. If you haven't had a chance yet, do those. But even that, how those taxes change every day, and the economic impacts that has on families is a lot, and it can be very impactful. And I'll never forget, and I've heard this many times throughout my career, but when you're at the table and you don't see others, like, then your community there, or you see that lack of representation, you need to speak up, because if not, how does it goes, like, if you're not writing the menu, you're on the menu, kind of thing. I don't know if anyone else has heard that. So it's like, if you're not creating it, if you're not choosing, like, you're going to be on the menu yourselves, and you guys will be essentially cut, or there's that lack of voice to advocate for you. And that's definitely what I've experienced a lot. And coming from Idaho to DC, I would say it was quite the culture shock. Lots more diversity. But then when I entered institutions like the United States Senate, or I went to have my job, one of my placements at the Association of American Medical Colleges, I again was the only Latina. And in Idaho as well, it's a predominantly white community. Only about 12% of the state is Latino. And so that wasn't shocking to me. It was very shocking for my colleagues and other friends from, California and Texas, where they themselves grew up in communities where they were the majority. So it's a beautiful as well, like, balance where they have those skills and, are more encouraged and confident to speak up. Versus for me, maybe my skills were that I learned how to listen a little bit more with conservatives. And I was constantly surrounded by folks that didn't agree with the values that I have, but that allowed me to really strengthen my skills and kind of like shine on the hill with developing more relationships across, so that we can work with in a bipartisan way, both with Democrats and Republicans, to come to an agreement on a certain issue. So that's a little bit about that placement there. And it was a wonderful, I got to meet President Obama. We got to meet at the time Secretary Julian Castro. It's really the emotions, the experiences that I got there were unlike anything that I've ever had. So I highly encourage, if you're ever interested, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer questions. But that experience ultimately shifted my whole career. Again, I tell you, I was so excited, and I prepped so much to go to medical school. And then amid the pandemic, and it was a really challenging time, a lot, but I had this change of heart and was just like, I don't think medicine is for me anymore. I think health policy is where I'm going to make my impact. And that was a choice I made. I think doctors do an amazing job day in and day out, and I respect them a lot for my work, and I work with them as well, quite a lot. But we each can make our impact in different ways. And for me, it was a career in health policy. And in Idaho, I didn't know what that was. In college, no one ever really explained that to me. But having this experience, challenging myself to move from Idaho, like literally across the United States. And that was scary in itself, but putting myself in that challenge allowed me to explore this whole new career. And it's now what I'm most passionate, what I do day in and day out. And I've created a decade of career experience with now. So again, my life goal has been, influencing policymaking to really leverage my identity as a Mexican American Latina from Idaho, from a rural community, to advance and really give voice for Latino populations and underserved communities, and to make sure that they're always being advocated for, particularly in spaces oftentimes where there is a lack of representation. So and I can go, if anyone has any questions about my career, I'm happy to go more into depth. I worked at the National Association of Community Health Centers, Centros de Salud. They're very important to me. I grew up as a child going to health centers. My mom still does. I still do when I go back home to Idaho. So, that seemed like the first great job that I could work in, and I absolutely loved it. From there on, I really wanted to learn about health insurance, and where there's so many challenges and so hard to navigate. So I thought, I'm going to work in Blue. I'm going to apply. Hopefully, I get in. I got to Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, and I got to work on both marketplace plans. Those are the Affordable Care Act, health insurance plans, and then also Medicaid. And once I got my taste of Medicaid, which I did, Medicaid is also health insurance for low income. I was like, this is my calling. This is also it within health policy. I work in health equity, and health equity is a very broad term that encompasses all the other aspects outside of the clinical, like how our body is. That impact our health. And so that's our housing, that's our environment that we're living in, that's the nutrition, the foods that we're eating. All of those I also have also worked in and have an interest in. But it's led to an amazing career. And here I just wanted to note down some different types of careers. I wouldn't encourage you just to limit yourself to this, but if you are seeking to, make a social impact, nonprofits do that quite a lot. And these government organizations, again, they're at the local, state, federal, international level. And this is a very different types. You can also work in the public sector. So that working with you can work in the state government, federal government, and they are rewarding. I will say the salaries and the incomes for that are also sometimes not as great, not as competitive, but but the reward is there. I think you get to like see that direct impact depending on what type of person you are, whether you like to work at a micro level, one-on-one with individuals, such as like caseworkers do that, and providers do that, or if you want to work more on a macro level and oversee a different, which is what I find myself a person. I really like working on federal policy, federal health policy, where I oversee impacts across the nation, and then look state by state. Another is social entrepreneurship, of starting a business with a social and environmental mission. And there are many organizations like this, foundations, and then corporate social responsibility, where careers and companies that are committed to sustainable practices. There's a lot of, I think of like environmental organizations, I think foundations as well, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, a lot of larger companies as well have foundations associated with them that have more of that income and are able to, invest it in research. And aside from this, I think there's like journalism. They make an impact in telling the stories and highlighting those and making sure, again, that representation is in there and that communities are highlighted. So I think that's also just another type of career outside. But whether you do like also the STEM engineering, I think in every way, it's just how you choose to make your impact. But do so with something that you enjoy and give yourself flexibility to explore something new. Here, I just wanted to highlight some of like the challenges and considerations. So we talked a little bit about finances previously, but and that can be challenging for me. In particular, I was still paying off student loan debt from still am paying off student loan debt from undergrad. And then took a couple of gap years and decided, I'm not going to pursue my master's unless it's free, unless someone's paying for it. And thankfully I've gotten to a job that does offer that, and that does exist. It can be hard sometimes and challenging to find that, but do encourage you to do that. I think everyone in this room, is um, definitely qualified. There's many scholarships out there across a variety of different industries. So if you make that choice to, pursue a master's degree, definitely try to get it paid for if you can, or a PhD degree. But you can also do it just with, a bachelor's alone. And there's definitely many people that don't have any educational, like formal educational training, that are continuing to make an impact. So um, choose your own path there. For emotional challenges, you definitely, you have to, it's a balance. There's dealing with systemic issues and burnout and trying to also prevent that. I won't lie, I had 2 mental breakdowns earlier this week. I think it was just a lot of things going on at one time. I work full time. I'm going to school part time. I run a nonprofit in Idaho. And then, have my own personal life that I do at the same time, and need to find balance. And I think that with community, thankfully, I have a great group of friends here locally and abroad that, I can quickly call up and just talk with and help me. And I think the community piece is, really creating that wherever you go is really so important, and grounding yourself there too. Imposter syndrome is another thing that, our community struggles with a lot. And, again, having that community to remind you, like, you are the bichota in the room. You are, don't think that way. Know your worth, because you are in these spaces, and you are where you are because you've created that. That's not by chance. You worked hard. You sacrificed. Your family made sacrifices. You are here for a purpose and for a reason, and you worked hard for it. So own that. And then again, just balancing with personal values and career goals, and let that, allow yourself that flexibility, allow yourself to explore something new or to take on a new challenge. And I find that when I'm getting comfortable in a situation, or not challenging the status quo as much, that's when I'm like, something doesn't feel right. And so I always encourage myself to as well, like, get uncomfortable when I can, learn a new skill or experiences. And that now leads me to, actually, just really quick, I want to check in on time. Can someone just check me on time real quick? I don't think I might not be able to hear. I have my volume on up, but if you could shout.
We can do about like 12 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll wrap up soon. So yeah, I have just like a few more slides. But with that, I would say, professional development is super important, and that allows you the opportunity to explore other skills to really develop yourself. And so I love professional development programs. There's quite the variety of out there. I've always looked at healthcare and really been interested in leadership, and as well global impact. And so these are just some of the programs that I've done throughout my career, and I have hyperlinked them. So if you do receive a copy of this, feel free, and I'm happy to recommend you or help you with your applications. Two that I want to highlight are again the CHCI program. And I think I actually covered quite a bit earlier, but I think that is just such an amazing program to go to Washington, D.C. They offer a stipend for the fellowships. So if you are graduating with your bachelor's degree or master's degree, you have 2 opportunities to do that, and you have about 2 years after to apply. And it's really life-changing. So definitely encourage you if that's something of interest. And you don't need to know policy. I didn't mention this earlier, but I had my bachelor's the whole time in biology in undergrad. And then the last year, because it's a liberal arts college, I had to take a public policy course. And I said, no, I'm not going to take it. I don't want to be in politics. I don't like politics. I I only voted at the time in presidential elections. I didn't vote during in the mid year elections, and now I work completely in politics. I never thought that would have happened. But you're open to change, and it's exciting that CHCI has opened this whole new world to me. The other one is the Mexico program of cultural immersion and volunteering. Again, regrounding yourself in your community is so important. And for me, I didn't have that much of a I wasn't exposed much to my Mexican community growing up. And so I really wanted to connect myself back with my homelands, my tierras, my family, and PICFI Mexico currently has this program where if you're between the ages of 21 and 30, they fly you out to Mexico. They give you a stipend. And so the majority of it's completely paid for. The deadline for it is April 22nd, so it is coming up. If you're interested, and encourage you to share it with others as well. But that program, you get selected to either go to Jalisco, Oaxaca, Estado de Mexico. There's a few different states in Mexico, and you essentially get to explore and just, reconnect with culture and be with others that are in the program. There are roughly 80 young professionals or individuals accepted. So it's really great. And if you are considering applying or have any questions, please let me know. Another tips is, to create a LinkedIn if you don't already have one. LinkedIn is a really powerful tool. Again, I encourage you guys to always apply. If you don't think you're not going to get it, you won't get it if you don't apply. Like you have to put your name out there. And I think once that I learned that myself, and then doors started opening, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, like you push down that imposter syndrome. You continue to, believe in yourself. So grow your network as well. And by having all these different experiences, you get to learn about more experiences, learn about different skills. And I think that's what's the beautiful thing about that too. So and then this is my last slide, but again, there is no right path for your career to really make a social impact. I think that you can do that however you choose. But just a few reminders, to continue to be confident in yourself, know your worth, prioritize as well your health, because that's something that sometimes I struggle with as well, is I get so caught up in everything that I have to do and all these goals and metas that I have for myself. But sometimes I'll go like this week was a bad week. I went only one day I only had a meat like a half a tuna sandwich. And that was not great for me. I was hungry throughout the day. I, always try to bring water bottle with me, stay hydrated, go on walks, mental health walks. If you have a therapist, schedule those conversations to help you as well with your mental health, because that is so important. You're not going to be able to do your best if you yourself are not in a great healthy state. And then, be comfortable with change and be curious and ask questions. So that's about it. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And here's my contact information as well, my personal contact info. So yeah, thank you.
Did anyone have any questions? Are we able to text this cell number if students have a question?
Yeah, you can text it. If you have a question, you can text it and I can answer it through here. Yeah. Or I can either DM you or you want me to answer it here, just let me know too. But if there is any questions, I might need just to make sure I hear it well. If it maybe they could type it in the chat or text it to me, just so I can hear it clearly. Or if someone could repeat the question very close to the mic that was passed around, I couldn't hear much.
Okay.
But maybe if there's another mic that's more direct to the computer.
That's a good question. I yeah, we can probably have folks come up.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the information.
There's a thank you so much. Thank you for the information.
Can you hear me?
Does anyone else have a question?
I had a question regarding the Mexico trip thing.
Yes. What's your question?
Well, just we can probably email you just regarding that. I just where do you contact or where do you find that information or how do you sign up with you or I don't think it's you, but
Yeah. So I found out about that program from a friend in my again, this always goes back to the network, but a friend that I had met through CHCI had applied for this and was accepted in their first year cohort. And then they shared it and sent it all these organizations, once you become alumni, has listservs. and people will share opportunities through there. I do that a lot. I didn't talk about it a lot, but it's what led me to found my nonprofit, the Idaho Latino Young Professionals Network, because I saw that a lot of these like great programs, just like the word doesn't get out as far, and particularly for our communities that are like even more on the West Coast. I feel like East Coast does a really good job of networking. But West Coast, I feel like the geographic location of us just being so far apart is it's harder to do that. And we can get really siloed. And so I have that Instagram. I encourage you guys if you want to follow. It's the Idaho. If you Google on Instagram, we're entirely on social media, and I am daily posting opportunities like this on there too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? Okay, I don't think there's any other questions, so thank you so much for presenting for us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Bye. Thank you guys. I believe in each and every one of you. While I can't see everyone directly, again, just like continue to know your worth, and each of you I know are going to make such a great impact for our community that is. So however I can be a resource, please reach out. And I wish you a really great rest of the program, and enjoy the weekend as well.